Whoa, I didn't think Senpai had it in him to make Nagatoro cry. I guess the manga has come full circle since the first chapter where she made him cry. Spoilers for chapter 150 of Don't Toy Me Miss Nagatoro. Oh, wait a second, we just hit a milestone, 150 chapters. That's crazy to think about. I remember when I did my chapter 100 review, it doesn't feel that long ago. Too bad it's a drama-filled chapter rather than a happy-go-lucky one. For those that don't know or need a refresher, let me quickly go over what happened last chapter. Senpai drew a David sketch of Machida for art class. When Nagatoro asked him what he drew, he lied and said that it was a sculpture. She thought he was acting kinda fishy, so she took it upon herself to look through his stuff, only to find out that he had lied to her. It wasn't a sculpture, but a sketch of Machida. When she goes to confront him, he hits her with, "You look through my stuff without permission." She's caught off guard by how hurt and defensive he seems to be about this. Even though she's upset, she recognizes what she did was wrong and apologizes. This is where the chapter ends. To my surprise, the new chapter doesn't pick up right where the last one left off. Instead, it cuts a few hours later when they're back in their own bedrooms. He thinks that she's upset because he called her out for looking at his stuff. But he had every right to do that. She crossed a boundary. As the audience, we know that she's actually upset because he lied to her. We cut to Nagatoro sulking in her room as her brother and sister come to check in on her. They can tell that she's upset because of Senpai, so they're basically like, hey, say the word and we'll go pay this guy a visit. But she tells them that it's a matter between them. I'm happy to see the siblings again, but I think this was a missed opportunity to introduce Nagatoro's mother, have her be the one to come check in on her. I'm also curious what the siblings would have done if Nagatoro unleashed them on Senpai. Like, would they go rough him up, no questions asked, or would they just go give him a good scare and a talking to? Is it just me, or does her brother seem like he's kind of disappointed he can't go rough Senpai up? The next day, Senpai does try to talk to Nagatoro, but she just ignores him. This isn't the first time Nagatoro has run away when Senpai has tried to fix the issue. Senpai goes to consult his friends and Nagatoro goes to consult hers. They give him the most mediocre pep talk. They just pat him on the back and say, cheer up. That's like telling a depressed person, just be happy. But with that said, I appreciate they don't try to give him any BS advice, try to act like they're love experts when they don't even have girlfriends themselves. We cut back to Nagatoro trying to laugh it off, trying to downplay how she feels. But then she ends up breaking and she can't stop the tears. I think this is the first time we've seen her cry because she's sad. We've seen her upset and cry tears of joy, but not tears of sadness. Also, before I forget, I like how they don't trash talk each other. For example, when Senpai is with his friends, he's not like Nagatoro did this and that's why I'm in the right. No, he's like, I hurt her and I want to make things right. Or when Nagatoro is with her siblings, she doesn't trash talk Senpai, she's just like, hey, this is a problem between me and him. So after consoling Nagatoro, Gammo goes to find Senpai. I like how Senpai did try to reach out to Nagatoro to try and fix things, but she gave him the cold shoulder. Gammo finds him and tells him that Nagatoro was crying. He's like, well, I did tell her not to touch my stuff. And she's like, no, bro, that's not it. He's like, well, I did draw Machida. And she's like, no, that's not really it either. He then realizes it's because he lied to her. I like this scene because Gammo doesn't yell at him, she doesn't put her hands on him, she doesn't threaten him, she does nothing like that. She just tells him that his girlfriend was crying and helps him understand why. I also like that Senpai doesn't act petty. He could have easily been like, I've reached out to her 3 times and she's giving me the cold shoulder each time. Tell her when she's ready to talk, she knows where to find me. And I wouldn't have blamed him for acting like that because honestly, that's probably what I would have did. If I've reached out to you 3 times to fix an issue and one of those times was in person and you still ignore me, then okay, the ball's in your court, you gotta come to me. I also love that Hana is a ride or die. She sees her senpai in trouble and she's ready to scrap. Senpai runs off to go confront Nagatoro, and this is where the chapter ends. Again, I can't believe that we're already at the next milestone chapter, that it's already been over 2 years since chapter 100 came out. For those that don't remember, chapter 100 was just a setup chapter which was kind of disappointing at the time. It was about Senpai coming up with a schedule for the school trip since he was chosen to be one of the group leaders. But it didn't seem like anybody wanted to join his group because he made it very formal and boring. But of course, Nagatoro ends up signing up to be a part of his group. Of course, Senpai is excited about the fact he's going to be able to spend the field trip with Nagatoro. But it seems like Nagatoro and friends want to tweak the schedule a bit. Again, kind of disappointing with this being the milestone chapter, chapter 100. The only real special thing about it is that we get to see them in the club room together. And that's special because at this point in the manga, Nagatoro has stopped coming to the club room to focus on her judo club. So it's kind of a callback to the earlier chapters. Yes, chapter 100 was disappointing, but the creator, Nanashi, did do something special to celebrate chapter 100. Fans got to vote on what chapter of Nagatoro they wanted fully colored, and to no one's surprise, it was chapter 99. I can't show anything from that chapter. So a lot has happened since chapter 100. Again, we had the school field trip where Nagatoro and Senpai end up going to a matchmaking shrine. There was also my favorite chapter in the manga, chapter 107, where Senpai imagines a future where he doesn't confess his feelings to Nagatoro and how sad and lonely that future looks. That's also the chapter where he admits to himself that he's in love with Nagatoro. There's the milestone chapter where he decides to make a move and hold her hand. Nagatoro volunteering to be Senpai's David model. Senpai declaring that he'll confess his feelings to Nagatoro if he gets first place during the mock exam. The training camp where Nagatoro tries to make a move but Senpai rejects her. The kiss, the confession, and so much more I skipped over. Now we're on chapter 150. And speaking of chapter 150, overall, I thought this was a solid chapter. I like how it shows that a relationship isn't always going to be smooth sailing, that there's going to be some bumps in the road. I like how the situation isn't 100% on one person. It's both their faults for not trusting each other, but this situation does fall more on Senpai. I'm also glad that my prediction was wrong about them fixing everything this chapter. I can appreciate the 3-act story. Last chapter being the introduction to the problem, this chapter letting the problem marinate, and next chapter being the resolution. Some people don't like how this chapter seems to pin all the blame for this situation on Senpai when it's both their faults. I can understand why people would feel that way, but I think the reason why this chapter focuses more on Senpai being at fault is because Nagatoro already apologized for her actions last chapter. But Senpai hasn't yet, but that's not from a lack of trying. Anytime he has tried, Nagatoro just ignores him. Some people believe that part of the reason why Nagatoro is upset is because she's insecure about her body. But I don't think that's the case. It's always kind of been played up for laughs that she's the least developed among her peers. Some people have also said they don't like the whiplash from going from the kiss to drama so quickly, and I kind of agree with that. I feel like there should have been at least 1 or 2 more wholesome chapters before introducing drama. Some people have theorized that Senpai was never truly upset with Nagatoro for going through his stuff, that he was just trying to come up with a quick way to get the heat off of himself. But I don't think that's true. I think he was actually upset with her going through his stuff without his permission. I hope that next chapter the manga brings up the fact that it's both their faults and doesn't try to pin it all on Senpai, because that would just leave a bad taste in my mouth if the manga did that. So what did y'all think of chapter 150 of Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro? Also, should I continue doing chapter reviews? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this video, like the video. And if you like me, subscribe to me. And as always, this has been your boy Broken, and I'll catch y'all next time.